What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We probably all know our sun signs, and if we don't, go watch the video I made last month about them. If you don't understand the phrasing of sun sign, maybe you understand the phrasing of star sign. They're the same thing. When people ask you what's your star sign, they're asking for your sun sign. Because it represents the sign in which the sun was, sort of relative to our perspective, at your time of birth. And that's it. I can't see my thing from over there. My tablet is on the verge of death, so it has to be plugged in, but I can't quite read it from all the way over there. We know that bit. Is it? Basically, your sun sign rules things like ego and your outward appearance, basically. To put it into the context of I think this is Japanese, could potentially be Chinese, but it's like a proverb, basically, that we all have three faces. We have one that we show to the public and all of society. We have a personal face that we only show to those closest to us, and we have a private face that nobody except ourselves see. It is the innermost one, and sort of the closest to our emotional, spiritual core. The sun sign is your public face, and obviously therefore your personal face sees it as well, whereas the moon sign is sort of your private face, the one just for you that you might share parts of with your personal relationships. Excuse me. So yeah, and the moon sign is sort of usually listed second in the big three, which is what we're finishing off the year with the big three. So last month we did sun signs, we're doing moon signs today, and ascendants will be next month, as we ascend up, hopefully, out of this COVID pandemic and leave it all behind, hopefully. So one of the most important parts of finding your moon sign is knowing where the moon was at when you were born. So as Earth's sole natural satellite, and given its orbit around our planet, it changes signs every 2 to 3 days. And if you don't believe me, the little example on the back of my still unopened calendar shows quite clearly how often that change occurs, right? It's pretty consistent how often it changes. So second, it's in one sign, it enters on the next sign on the 4th, then the 6th, then the 8th, then the 11th, and the 13th. Presumably one around about the 15th, 16th, one on the 18th, one on the 21st. Probably means the 23rd as well, 25th, 27th. Yeah, it goes through them, okay? It gets through the signs quicker than your local town bike gets through guys. But yeah, that's just how the moon be, you know. It loves all signs equally. It's a true representative of equality, because it gives everybody an equal opportunity to just get in it during the month. I don't know where this analogy is going. We're moving on. So yeah, and it's different to planets like Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, which take between 7 and 30 years to go from one sign to another, due to just how big their orbits are. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But that's just how it is. Yeah, so your moon sign, as I mentioned before, reveals the real you. It illuminates all of your emotions, your fears, your passions, your obsessions, things that you desire and long for. It illuminates all of these things that are sort of below the surface of your sun sign driven persona. The whole argument of person versus persona sort of thing comes in. Like, person's essentially your moon sign, persona's the mask that the sun puts on you, and it's only at nighttime, only under moonlight, that you actually get to see your true self. And that's also kind of the reason why a lot of the introspective, meditative witchcraft is often called shadow work, because it's often dealing with the real you, the one you can only see once the sun's set and everything's cast in shadow, because it's then that you can illuminate the moon sign and actually get to the core of everything. You get to you sort of put all the ego and stuff aside, you let the sun set, and you're just left with the moon, and all the other stars and planets underneath that, because being that our proximity to the sun gives us life, it's obviously the most powerful one, which is why it's the one most people bother to learn or even know. So it's all about your private self, and your motivations, your anxieties. It's what drives and moves you. It sort of lets you know the sorts of things that you need from other people within your relationships, whether those be professional, platonic, romantic, familial ties, anything that you can put the word relationship at the end of. You know, a working relationship, a business relationship, a romantic relationship. You get the idea. So it's all about that private stuff that no one sees until they really get to know the real you. Because obviously they don't really know the real you if they're only taking you at face value, because that face value is your sun sign. Your moon sign, and I like that Cosmopolitan ties it up this way, your moon sign is the voice in your head. Okay? That little voice in your head is your moon sign, which makes me believe, considering how common sense is, that it must only be my particular moon sign that has that. Or maybe there's like a particular combination of where things have to be in your birth chart for you to have that, because common sense ain't that common at all. It used to be, so it's not false advertising. I don't know why the word marketing was in my head. False advertising. Yeah, since this is my video, we're going to talk about mine and make this kind of a get to know me like astrology edition. But my moon sign, so last month, as we know, my sun sign is Libra, my moon sign is Virgo. So, according to Cosmopolitan, I have a powerful inner voice, but has a tendency to judge and criticize myself first and foremost, but then friends, colleagues, family, bosses, partners, pets. Not necessarily in that order, but they also get a taste of it. It makes me a perfectionist, essentially. Maybe sometimes a bit of a control freak. I possess a deep-seated need to serve, protect, and organize others, which, between my advocacy for, at this point in time, just about anything, but really for mental health, like, that's always going to be number one to me. And then yeah, protection, deep-seated need to protect is usually my personal relationships. I could really honestly, like I couldn't give less of a shit about society in general. I'm sorry. I could care less. Couldn't care less, rather. But that protect is definitely my friends, my family. Like, I can say those things because, I've previously established that those things are jokes, and if my friends say, hey, I don't appreciate that, could you stop? I will stop. You can't say those things because that is my job, and I will fight you on it. Kind of a deal. So yeah, I'm a great friend. And the organisation, I got laughed at once for going on a camping trip with mates and taking a tent. Like, pretty basic camping stuff, I'd taken a sleeping bag and like a camping stretcher thing, just so that I wasn't lying on the ground, because it was like middle of winter and I was like, I'm not lying on the cold ground. And yeah, like basic stuff. I organised myself, knowing what I was getting myself into, organised myself, and got laughed at for it by my fuck it, we'll wing it friends. And that's fine, that's who they are, they want to be, let's just go on a camping trip, chuck some beer in the 4B, let's go, kind of, like, that's whatever, cool. But like, you told me a week in advance, so I had time to organise. It wasn't like you rocked up like, we're going camping, get in. You know what I mean? Like, I had time to plan and to organise myself. I'm good at taking control and doing what needs to be done because I can just see it, which is funny, because for me personally, and this could be where the pseudo part of pseudoscience for astrology comes in, but for me personally, I think it's potentially, and the more I look into it, the more it seems likely that I have ADHD or Asperger's or something of that like. But there are times where I can see things that need doing, and there are times where I'm just not interested by that particular thing to give a shit. So yeah, there are times where it's like, oh, okay, like, here's the whole thing, that they all need fixing. Let's start at step 1 and just methodically work our way through and fix everything. Cool, done. And there could be other times where I look at a thing and it's like, spot the difference, but I've been handed the exact same picture. Or I've been handed two completely different pictures, and it's like, well, the whole pictures are different. What specifically did you want me to point out? You know what I mean? I hope that analogy made sense. In relationships, I need someone who can lighten the mood, make me laugh, and help cast off my insecurities and anxieties, which is actually pretty easy to do with me, I'm not gonna lie. Being being an actor and a director, and just an all-round people watcher, basically. Learning how people move and talk and act, trying to understand how people think. Coming from someone who doesn't like people in general, it's kind of like an academic venture on my part, like, right, so this is what people are. Interesting. Must go back to my home planet and let the overlords know, sort of deal. But I can get into a situation being somewhat empathic. I can sort of usually quite accurately gauge the emotion of a room, and in some cases specifically which person that emotion's coming from, and in certain senses who it's directed at as well, although that's not a sure thing ever. There are some people where I can just walk into a room and know exactly, okay, they're pissed and it's at that person, cool. We'll just go over and have a quiet conversation. So as not to draw massive amounts of attention to it. But yeah, I can sort of put myself in those situations and quite easily adapt myself, emotionally speaking, through my actions and stuff, to be able to, you know, sort of, I'm like an octopus basically. I can sort of fit into anything, even if it looks physically impossible to look. What I'm trying to get at there is that octopi can like get themselves into containers where the hole's like this big, because they just sort of like slide one tentacle in at a time and just pull themselves through. It's weird, it's creepy, but it's really cool. And I'm kind of like that emotionally. So yeah, so I'm an emotional leech, essentially, but like a symbiotic leech. Like, I'm not here to sap all of the fun out of the atmosphere. I'm here to like, oh, we're having fun. Leech isn't the right word. I'm an emotional chameleon. I'm able to go in and be like, oh, okay, everyone's feeling yellow. Suddenly I'm yellow. Or come into a room and that person's feeling blue. I'm blue too now. Now we can connect and I can try and help, because I have a deep-seated need to serve others. But yeah, so someone who can lighten the mood, definitely, especially because I have anxiety and depression sometimes. Make me laugh. It's actually not that hard to make me laugh, I'm gonna be completely honest. It's not. I have quite I don't have like, I hate this. People are often like, oh, I have a weird sense of humour, and then they'll say the same basic things, and I'm like, you thought that was funny. Like, that's just dumb. You don't have a weird sense of humour, you're just 12. But then there's other times where it might be the way they delivered that same joke, where it's like, The joke was boring, but your delivery was spot on. You made that funny. Yes, you have an interesting sense of humor. So yeah, not that hard to make me laugh, and then helping me cast off my insecurities and anxieties. That's just words of affirmation. That's literally just, for me anyway, it's just words of affirmation. Like, yeah, no, you got this. Like, I'm here to support you, but like, you got this, go do it. Like, if you think so, and I think that you could do literally anything 100 times better than I can, then I've got this. Like, hell yeah. Nah, not that hard. Not that hard. Yeah, and then it says at the end there, finishes off with, I'm a lot of fun when I'm not stressing. I'm sure I'm also a lot of fun when I'm not monotonously talking about my moon sign for 20 minutes. Okay, calm down, tablet. I'm gonna show you. I'm not touching it. It's just having a moment. Come on. We good now? We've had our... I'm glad it did that though. I need to go get tablets tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's gonna be so full. Tomorrow's gonna be so full of stuff to do. One went down. Oh, that's a weird combination. I don't recommend that. But I had nothing else. And I'm not some freak of nature that can swallow pills without liquid. What is going on here? I don't understand. You were full screen like 2 seconds ago. Oh, this second website's not loading. I had a little bit more information than just Cosmopolitan. But it's on 7%. It's being weird. It doesn't wanna... See, our images are full size, but the text is still only filling half a screen. You know what? Whatever. Because I'm pretty sure this one had what the sun actually controls, like what it actually dictates. I'm sure it did. Anyway. So. Alright, we'll start here. So the sun's powerful glow maintains and sustains life, but the glowing star doesn't work alone. The mysterious and intuitive moon is also a vital part of existence. The moon orbits the Earth every... Now, when you click on the link below, it says 27.5 days, and then goes on to say gliding across the zodiac into a new astrological sign every 2.5 days. So, to show you their maths, here is a calculator, right? 2.5. We're following so far. There's 12 signs. minus 2.5. So they missed a sign. They just straight up went, there's 11 signs in the zodiac. It's actually closer to 29 days, not 30. So even that maths is off because it's not exactly a half day. Anyway, so it's about every 29 days, which is why with all of the months having 30 or 31 days, you may have noticed that all of our full moon and new moon videos have been progressively earlier in the month as the year's gone on. Yeah. And I mean that like according to the month. So like this month's was the 3rd, but I already can tell you top of my mind that February next year it's the 1st. So like the date itself gets progressively earlier. Yeah. So within its fast-moving cycle, the moon's appearance is constantly transforming. Its shape and luminosity are dictated by its proximity to the sun and earth, super and micromoons. Over the course of a month, the moon will assume many different forms, emerging its bright sphere during the full moon, in diverse crescent shapes during its waxing and waning phases. I like that it only specifies the crescents, which is technically before first quarter and after third quarter. The weird overly eye shapes are gibbuses. Gibbous moons. And then yeah, completely invisible during its new moon phase. It's not invisible. It's just the same color as everything else around it. It's done a chameleon. So likewise, within a birth chart, your moon sign reveals the ever-changing ways you've been impacted by experiences. Just as the moon reflects the sun, the moon sign reveals your innate reactions to life's experiences, your internal monologue, the key to understanding your emotional profile. The moon stays close to Earth, hugging the planet with its consistent, steady ascension. Sometimes even in the daylight, we can see the outline of the moon, which obviously, in this case, serves as a reminder of its dependability. The moon has a long-established association with feminine energy, just as the sun does with masculine energy. And then both, astrologically speaking, taking the role of the mother for the moon and the father for the sun. In astrology and all things witchy, people often talk about the divine masculine and the divine masculine and divine feminine. Thank you, mouth. However, it's crucial to understand that these are not binary concepts. These are not to be taken as a binary concept. It's to be taken as a spectrum with like masculine, feminine, and no one is ever at an extreme. We all have a mix of divine masculine and divine feminine traits, regardless of your gender. So this isn't a, when we're talking about masculine and feminine in witchcraft, we're not talking about like gender. We're taking the ideas of, I mean, it kind of comes from, this is going to be way off topic, but it kind of comes from that sort of place, especially when you go back to like the Age of Enlightenment and stuff. Like traditional male roles would have been more strength and authority based, you know, and be given things like the manly jobs of like war and building, and then the feminine traits are more nurturing, like for a nurse or a teacher or a mother. But we're not actually talking about like gender roles in society. We're not talking about preferred pronouns or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that side of things where masculine and feminine can be brought up. Nothing to do with it. Same words, different meanings. So the moon sign accordingly reveals how you mother yourself, representing your comfort zone, your sense of security. Unlike the sun, which relies on logic and divine masculine energy, the moon creates a raw psychic feeling. The moon sign is one of the most private and protected areas of the chart. Though it's not always visible, it guides us through nocturnal illumination. I like how that rolled off the tongue. That was really nice. It's fun to say. Nocturnal illumination. While the sun sign acts, the moon sign reacts, is the basic takeaway. Alright, so your actions, like it said, should be logical and thought through, and be full of like, this is what I can physically stand, this is like my ego sort of thing, like these are my actions. Your reactions are like the involuntary responses that you do out of emotion, because humans are emotional creatures, and so you can't always justify your reactions to this persona that you've created for yourself. Sometimes it's like, wow, the way he reacted, that was really out of character, or the way, you know, she, they acted was out of character. And that's because sometimes you can have a sun sign that does this and a moon sign that does the complete opposite. It'd be like having an Aries sun but a Libra moon. They are like polar opposites on the zodiac sort of thing. They're not actually, because they're both cardinal signs, but like you get the idea. Actually, what would be a better example? Oh god, yeah, an Aries and a Pisces. One where it's like full of ego and fire and like drive, and this one's more go with the flow, very emotional because it's a water sign, that sort of thing. Like, yeah, sometimes you can just be completely thrown off by your planetary alignments and stuff, which is what makes this interesting, I think, for me. So yeah, so sun acts, moon reacts, but the moon's responses have a tremendous impact. Consider the way in which the incredible gravitational forces between the Earth and the moon influence the ocean's tide. When the moon is closer to the Earth, the tide is higher. And that closeness can be when the full moon in particular is in your sign, which will usually be the other end of the year from when you were born. So for an Aries full moon, that's likely going to happen during Libra. So that could be end of September, or it could be first like half of 3 weeks of October is when that full moon could theoretically appear. Cool. So there's a whole lot more here. So like if your moon sign is in the same element as your sun sign, here it says same triplicity, it's talking about your elements. Triplicity is just something that has 3 of it in there. There being 4 elements, 12 signs, you're gonna have 3 signs in each triplicity. They're the 4 elements. But yeah, it says there if it's in the same element, that element may be enhanced. So a Gemini sun with a Libra moon, they're both air signs, will exhibit intensified air attributes such as caring deeply about interpersonal relationships, since, as I said, they're both air signs. The moon phases and the house it occupies in a birth chart house will refer to different areas of life, and I will be going through them at a later date, but that'll be on my TikTok. So they reveal how and where we express our emotions, all that sort of stuff. So when you're really looking through it all, your moon sign tells you quite a lot about how you react to situations and where you are emotionally speaking, and sort of the more intimate side of yourself. So when people are asking you, well, what's your star sign, maybe learn what your moon sign is and just occasionally throw that out there. You'll completely put them off finding out when your actual birth date is, but they'll get to know a little bit more about you emotionally speaking. For Allure, Virgo moons are the most analytical sign of the zodiac, and I'm not going to disagree. Accordingly, those with a Virgo moon placement are satisfied by logic, organization, and structure. Agreed. Virgo moons excel at creating comprehensive dynamic systems for themselves and perhaps even more importantly for others. They love to be helpful and are always fulfilled when contributing in practical ways. Virgo moons require a lot of soothing as their mind never stops worrying. Oh, testify. Preach into the choir. Those with Virgo moons should implement a mindfulness practice such as meditation, and try working with a therapist to keep anxious thoughts at bay. Oh, I love how it says that, and I'm literally going to my therapist in just over a week. That's hilarious to me. That's all I've got for this video, though there will be both the Cosmopolitan and the Allure links down below. There will also be an astrology.com link down below, so you can actually check out for yourself what your birth chart is. I do believe the Cosmopolitan one has within it a link itself to Cafe Astrology, which is just as good, if not potentially better. I haven't actually looked at astrology.com's birth chart calculator yet. Maybe I'll do that next month as part of the Ascendants. But yeah, that's all I've got. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to ring that bell to turn the post notifications on so you can be kept up to date when I upload new videos. If you enjoyed this one, please give it a big old thumbs up. Would be greatly appreciated. Let me know your moon signs in the comments down below. Until next time, guys, keep your head screwed on.